Let me show you some headlines. First, look at these headlines. Many Western media claim that Russia has weaponized food, just like they did with energy. But it reminds me of Henry Kissinger's dire warning. Control oil and you control nations. Control food and you control the people. The West and Ukraine accused Russia of playing the Hunger Games with food exports. But the president of the European Council, Charles Michel, said at the UN Security Council on June 6th that Russia is solely responsible for this food crisis. Russia alone. But let's get back to the Black Sea Grain Initiative I mentioned earlier. It hasn't been plain sailing. Russia complained that Western sanctions were impeding its grain and fertilizer exports. James O'Brien, head of U.S. State Department Office for Sanctions Coordination, brushed the claim aside, saying it was, quote, an example of misinformation, adding that Washington was working in good faith. Well, the UN spokesperson admitted on September 7th that many issues were causing bottlenecks. With more details, the spokesperson said, this is an especially complex trade conversation that involves many issues, that involves many parties. I mean, not only governments, but also the private sector in terms of insurance, in terms of transport, in terms of finance. And we are working hard with all the parties to eliminate the bottlenecks. Pretty vague, isn't it? So what are these issues? And what are these bottlenecks? We don't have the foggiest idea. So coming back to Charles Michel's assumption, is Russia solely responsible for this food crisis? Well, the answer might not be as straightforward as it seems. And if this wasn't enough, China is in the media spotlight once again. In this article titled U.S. Aid Chief Criticizes China's Absence in a Food Crisis Stoked by Russia's Invasion, published by the New York Times, the administrator of the U.S. Agency for International Development singled out China for hoarding fertilizer and grain while millions of people in East Africa face starvation. In fact, China not only feeds its nearly 1/5 of the world's population with less than 9% of the world's arable land, the country has also made positive contributions to safeguarding global food security through projects including the China FAO South-South Cooperation. In recent years, China has donated a total of $130 million and sent a large number of experts and technical personnel to countries in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean, as well as Pacific Island countries under the scheme. And China has been the largest contributor in terms of funding and has sent the most experts and undertaken the most projects among all developing countries. So it would seem that the U.S. isn't quite seeing the bigger picture here. China has been active and has provided solutions to properly equipped countries with the skills and knowledge its population needed. As the Chinese proverb goes, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. And finally, the blame game might end up as a mugs game. Everyone will lose, some more than others. This editorial piece published by The Guardian gave us a clue about what the root causes of the food crisis might be. It says, quote, the crisis is laying bare the broken food system that underlies it, in which consumers, often producers, struggle, while others make huge profits. Grain trading is concentrated in the hands of only 4 companies, which are making record profits from desperately needed dietary staples. Speculation and profiteering were blamed for helping cause the Arab Spring in the last food crisis, and the fear is that they are once more prevailing. Well, these 4 majors, 3 from the United States and 1 from France, known as the ABCD Group, namely ADM, Bunge, Cargill, and Louis Dreyfus, account for reportedly an estimated 80% of the global grain trade, and they have a finger in every pie, essentially.